Alright, so what I did is I took down my bank wall and I replaced it with this extension, and it's a little funner to skate in my opinion because it's not as tall, but you have that coping right there, and that's funner because you can do lip tricks on something that's a little higher than my pool coping over here. So what I did is I went ahead and put coping on the extension right here, and what I'm going to do is show you guys how I set my coping on the transition here on my mini ramps. So I found to secure the coping onto the top of the transition here, the easiest way is to drill a larger hole right here, and I use screws. I solely use screws. The screws that I use, this is kind of a off topic here, but they're made for a deck, actually, outdoor deck material. And what this is this is a screw, and it's coated with a material that will allow it not to rust. So that's the key right here. You can use screws, but make sure you buy deck screws, because the deck screw I'm using right here, it's not going to rust because it's coated with a material. So make sure you buy the deck screws, and it's made for outdoor decks, and it's perfect for mini ramps because it's got a nice square head right there. It's a Phillips and a square head all at the same time. I use the square drive bit, and it goes in really well, and it won't rust because it's got this coating on it. So that's what I use for the screws. So you want to drill this hole right here, big enough to allow the head of the screw to go through. So what that's going to do is I'm going to be able to punch it through, but then on the underside here, it's going to have a smaller hole that the head is not going to be able to go through. So what I'm going to be able to do is drill my screw into the wood right here, through the top of the coping, but it's going to hold on the inside, so I won't have anything sticking out except this little hole. And this little hole is on the end, and I'm not going to hit it. And even if it was in the middle, what I would probably do is drill it somewhere right here, and then go in at more of an angle into the wood, because my skateboard's going to be up here, not down here. So that's what I do on the coping here. Alright, so I'm doing this in reverse. What I would originally do is lay the coping on first, and then put on the top deck and lay the bottom right here so it meets up with the coping. But I'm going to take the coping off and show you how I drilled the holes, because I think it'll be a little easier for you to see. So if you can see that right there, see how that hole on the other side is a little bit smaller? That's so the screw head won't go through the other side, and that's what's going to hold the coping onto the transition here. And another thing I didn't mention is I put 2 1x1 inch boards through the top here. One right here, and then also one right here. And if you can see right here, that's going to keep the coping from moving back. And this one that's sitting parallel on the bottom is going to keep the coping from getting pushed down or something like that. So that's going to do is allow the coping to sit on there really securely. So it's very important to get this surface right here even, because that's what the coping is going to be resting on, and that's what's going to make it sit perfectly level. So another thing I want to go over is the amount the coping should overlap. Now I have this part pretty much even. Maybe it's sticking out just a little bit. I'd like it to stick out a little bit more, but that's just personal preference, and it doesn't really matter. It's easier to put the coping, always put the coping in first, and then what you can do is measure your board right here and butt it up to the coping to have it even running across the line right here. So that is how I do mine. For the top deck right here, I just have it screwed in with a few screws, and this should probably be a little bit lower because you can see it's about even with the coping here, and it should be a little bit lower because that lets your wheels lock into the top deck right here. So there should be a little bit of a lip, as it should come up a little bit, but it doesn't. So I need to put a smaller board on here, a little thinner board, so that leaves a little bit of a lip, but I'm not too worried about that right now because I built the extension more for airs and just stalls, and it's not that big of a deal. So if you have any more questions, be sure to leave a comment on this video, but I hope that this explains it a little bit better. So just remember, the larger hole on top allows you to drill the screw and keep it securing the coping on the inside so the screw head doesn't protrude on the outside and catch you when you're grinding across the top.